The family photos on the mantelpiece were watching me with eyes that seemed to follow my every movement as I walked through the supposedly empty house at 3 in the morning, their smiling faces taking on a sinister quality in the dim light from my phone's flashlight as I investigated the sounds that had woken me from a restless sleep in the master bedroom. I had been house-sitting for the Morrison family for only 2 days, caring for their 2 cats and maintaining their beautiful suburban home while they vacationed in Europe for 3 weeks. I thought the hardest part of the job would be remembering to water the plants and keeping the cats from destroying the furniture. But the sounds I had been hearing since my first night in the house were not the normal settling noises of an unfamiliar building or the activities of 2 indoor cats exploring their territory. These were deliberate, purposeful sounds. Footsteps in the hallway outside the bedroom where I was sleeping. The soft opening and closing of doors in parts of the house where I had left everything securely locked, and voices whispering in rooms that should have been empty and silent. The Morrison family had assured me that their house was completely secure, that the neighborhood was safe and quiet, and that I would have no problems during my 3-week stay. They had failed to mention that their house came with occupants who had never left, residents who didn't appreciate strangers sleeping in their beds and living in their space. My name is Amanda, and that night taught me that house-sitting isn't just about caring for someone else's property, it's about stepping into their lives, their secrets, and sometimes their nightmares, where the dangers lurking in familiar suburban homes can be far more terrifying than anything waiting in the darkness outside. Ever wondered why some homeowners seem desperate to find house-sitters for extended trips? Ever questioned why certain families offer unusually generous compensation for simple pet care and plant watering? Comment below if you've house-sat and discovered that the family you're helping has been hiding secrets that put your safety at risk, because tonight I'm sharing 3 true accounts that will make you question every house-sitting opportunity you've ever considered. These aren't exaggerated stories or urban legends designed to scare people away from house-sitting work. These are real experiences from real house-sitters who learned that when you agree to live alone in someone else's house, you're placing yourself in an environment where you have no control over what might be hidden in the basement, who might have keys to the doors, or what kind of history the house and its owners might be concealing. Marcus was a college senior in his early 20s who was house-sitting for Professor Williams, one of his literature professors, who had offered him a well-paying house-sitting assignment during winter break while the professor and his wife traveled to visit family in England for the holidays. Marcus had taken several classes with Professor Williams and had developed a good relationship with the respected academic who had recommended Marcus for the house-sitting position based on his reliability and maturity. Professor Williams's house was a large Victorian home in an established neighborhood near the university campus, built in the 1890s, and carefully restored to maintain its historical character while incorporating modern amenities and conveniences. The house was filled with antique furniture, rare books, and academic collections that reflected Professor Williams's scholarly interests and his family's long history in the university community. Marcus's house-sitting responsibilities included maintaining the house's complex heating and security systems, caring for Professor Williams's elderly cat, collecting mail and packages, and ensuring that the valuable books and antiques were protected from any environmental or security threats that might occur during the 3-week absence. Professor Williams had provided detailed instructions for all aspects of house care and had expressed confidence in Marcus's ability to handle the responsibilities. For the first week of his house-sitting assignment, Marcus's experience at Professor Williams's house was peaceful and routine. With no problems or concerns about the property, the neighborhood, or his ability to handle the responsibilities of caring for the historic home and its valuable contents. Marcus established a comfortable routine of studying for his upcoming semester, caring for the cat, and maintaining the house according to Professor Williams's detailed instructions. But during the second week of his stay, Marcus began to notice unusual activities and sounds in the house that suggested he was not alone in the supposedly empty Victorian home. Marcus would hear footsteps in the rooms above him when he was studying in the first-floor library, and he would find doors that he had closed standing open when he returned from brief trips to the grocery store or campus library. Marcus's initial assumption was that the old house was simply settling, or that he was not remembering accurately which doors he had closed or left open during his daily routines. But as the unusual activities continued and became more frequent and obvious, Marcus began to realize that someone else was present in the house and was moving through the rooms and corridors while trying to avoid direct contact with him. Subscribe and turn on notifications if you've ever house-sat and found doors you clearly remember closing standing mysteriously open, because what Marcus discovered about the intruder proved that some house-sitting assignments expose you to conflicts and vendettas that have nothing to do with pet care and everything to do with the hidden enemies of the families you're helping. The situation became more disturbing when Marcus discovered that someone had been going through Professor Williams' personal papers and academic materials, with documents and books rearranged in ways that suggested systematic searching rather than casual browsing. Marcus found evidence that file cabinets had been opened, desk drawers had been searched, and computer files had been accessed by someone who was looking for specific information or materials. Marcus realized that the house was being systematically searched by someone who had detailed knowledge of its layout and contents, and who was able to enter and move through the property without triggering the security systems or alerting Marcus to their presence. The intruder's ability to access the house and avoid detection suggested that they had keys, security codes, or other means of entry. Marcus's investigation of the unauthorized activities revealed that the intruder was particularly interested in Professor Williams' research materials related to his work on medieval manuscripts and rare book collections, suggesting that the break-ins were motivated by the theft of valuable academic materials rather than random burglary or vandalism. The systematic nature of the searching and the focus on specific types of materials indicated that the intruder had detailed knowledge of Professor Williams's work. The situation escalated when Marcus encountered the intruder directly during one of their nighttime searches of Professor Williams's study, discovering that the person responsible for the break-ins was Dr. Harrison, a colleague from the university's English department, who had been involved in a bitter academic dispute with Professor Williams over the attribution and ownership of certain rare manuscripts. Dr. Harrison had been using his knowledge of Professor Williams's house and his access to university resources to conduct unauthorized searches for materials that he claimed were rightfully his property. Dr. Harrison's confrontation with Marcus was hostile and threatening, with the academic claiming that Marcus had no right to interfere with his recovery of materials that Professor Williams had stolen from his research. Marcus realized that he was dealing with a dangerous situation involving academic theft and harassment that could escalate to violence if Dr. Harrison felt that his activities were being threatened by Marcus's presence in the house. Marcus immediately contacted Professor Williams and local law enforcement to report the break-ins and Dr. Harrison's threatening behavior. The investigation revealed that Dr. Harrison had been conducting a systematic campaign of harassment and theft against Professor Williams, using his knowledge of the professor's schedule and house to steal research materials and academic documents that he claimed were being used without proper attribution in Professor Williams' scholarly work. Professor Williams returned early from his vacation to deal with the situation and provide support for Marcus, who had been traumatized by the encounter with Dr. Harrison and the realization that he had been living in a house that was being systematically burglarized by someone with academic and personal vendettas against the homeowner. The incident led to Dr. Harrison's arrest and dismissal from the university. Marcus's experience taught him that house-sitting could expose caretakers to conflicts and dangers that had nothing to do with normal property care responsibilities, and that homeowners might not be aware of or might not disclose threats and disputes that could affect the safety of house-sitters. But if you think academic disputes represent the most sophisticated threat that house-sitters can face, wait until you hear what happened to Jennifer in an exclusive gated community. Because sometimes the most dangerous house-sitting assignments involve properties that attract the attention of professional criminal organizations who view luxury homes and their temporary caretakers as opportunities for high-value crimes that require months of planning and sophisticated surveillance techniques. Jennifer was a freelance graphic designer in her late 20s who was house-sitting for the Patterson family, a wealthy couple who had hired her to care for their luxury home, and 3 dogs while they traveled to Asia for a month-long business trip that combined work obligations with an extended vacation. Jennifer had been recommended for the house-sitting position by a mutual friend who had praised her reliability, love of animals, and experience with house-sitting assignments for affluent families. The Patterson house was a modern mansion in an exclusive gated community, equipped with state-of-the-art security systems, smart home technology, and luxury amenities that reflected the family's wealth and success in the technology industry. The house was surrounded by professionally landscaped grounds and was located in a neighborhood where privacy and security were prioritized by residents who valued their exclusivity and protection. Jennifer's house-sitting responsibilities included caring for 3 large dogs, maintaining the house's complex technology and security systems, managing the property's landscaping and pool maintenance, and ensuring that the valuable art and furnishings were protected from any damage or theft that might occur during the Patterson family's extended absence. For the first 2 weeks of her house-sitting assignment, Jennifer's experience at the Patterson house was enjoyable and rewarding, with no problems or concerns about the property, the pets, or her ability to handle the responsibilities of caring for the luxury home and its valuable contents. Jennifer appreciated the comfortable accommodations and the opportunity to experience a lifestyle that was far beyond her normal economic circumstances. But during the 3rd week of her stay, Jennifer began to notice that the house's security systems were recording activities and movements that suggested someone was monitoring the property and possibly planning unauthorized entry or surveillance of her activities. The security cameras were detecting motion and heat signatures in areas around the house where no legitimate activity should have been occurring. Jennifer's investigation of the security alerts revealed that someone was conducting systematic surveillance of the Patterson property, using sophisticated equipment and techniques to monitor her daily routines and the house's security vulnerabilities. The surveillance activities were too organized and professional to be explained by casual burglary attempts or neighborhood pranks. Hit that like button if you've ever house-sat in a luxury home and felt like you were being watched by people with professional surveillance equipment, because what Jennifer discovered about the criminal organization proved that some house-sitting assignments put you in the crosshairs of sophisticated criminals who view wealthy properties as targets worth months of planning and surveillance. The situation became more alarming when Jennifer discovered that her personal communications and internet activities were being monitored by someone who had gained access to the house, smart home systems, and was using the integrated technology to spy on her phone calls, emails, and online activities. Jennifer realized that the Patterson house's advanced technology systems, which were supposed to provide security and convenience, had been compromised. Jennifer's attempts to contact the Patterson family about the security breaches were unsuccessful, as the family was traveling in remote areas of Asia where communication was difficult and unreliable. Jennifer was forced to handle the security crisis alone, without guidance from the homeowners and without clear authority to make decisions about how to respond to the sophisticated surveillance and intrusion attempts. The situation escalated when Jennifer discovered that the people conducting surveillance of the Patterson house were part of a criminal organization that specialized in targeting wealthy families during extended travel periods, using house-sitters and temporary caretakers as sources of information about valuable property and security vulnerabilities that could be exploited for high-value burglaries and home invasions. Jennifer realized that she had been placed in a dangerous situation where her presence in the Patterson house made her a target for criminals who viewed her as both a source of intelligence about the family's wealth and a potential victim who could be harmed or kidnapped to facilitate their criminal activities. The criminals' sophisticated surveillance capabilities and their knowledge of the Patterson family's travel schedule suggested extensive planning. Jennifer's escape from the dangerous situation required her to work with local law enforcement and private security companies to implement enhanced protection measures and to safely evacuate the Patterson property before the criminal organization could complete their planned attack. Jennifer's quick recognition of the surveillance activities and her prompt response prevented what could have been a devastating home invasion. The investigation revealed that the criminal organization had been targeting multiple wealthy families in the gated community using house sitters and temporary caretakers as unwitting sources of information about property values, security systems, and travel schedules that could be used to plan and execute high-value crimes. Jennifer's experience taught her that house sitting for wealthy families could expose caretakers to sophisticated criminal organizations that viewed luxury properties and their temporary caretakers as opportunities for high-value crimes, and that house sitters needed to be prepared for security threats that went far beyond normal property protection responsibilities. But even sophisticated criminal surveillance seems manageable compared to what happened to Robert when he agreed to help his longtime neighbors. Because sometimes the most terrifying house-sitting discoveries involve realizing that the friendly family next door has been living a completely fabricated life, and your simple favor has placed you in the middle of criminal operations that could make you a target for violence from people who view your knowledge as a threat to their freedom. Robert was a retired teacher in his early 60s who was house-sitting for his neighbors, the Chen family, who had asked him to care for their home and garden while they traveled to China to visit elderly relatives for what was expected to be a 6-week trip. Robert had known the Chen family for over 10 years as friendly neighbors who had always been helpful and considerate, and he was pleased to assist them with house-sitting duties. The Chen house was a modest but well-maintained single-story home in a quiet suburban neighborhood with a beautiful garden that required daily watering and care during the summer months when the family would be traveling. Robert's house-sitting responsibilities were relatively simple, including collecting mail, watering plants, maintaining the garden, and ensuring that the house remained secure during the family's extended absence. Robert's familiarity with the Chen family and their home made the house-sitting assignment seem routine and comfortable, with no anticipated problems or challenges beyond the normal responsibilities of temporary property care. Robert had been in the Chen house many times for neighborhood gatherings and social visits, and he felt comfortable with the layout and systems of the familiar property. For the first month of his house-sitting assignment, Robert's experience at the Chen house was peaceful and routine, with no problems or concerns about the property or his ability to handle the responsibilities of caring for the home and garden. Robert established a comfortable routine of daily garden care, house maintenance, and security checks. But during the 5th week of his stay, Robert began to discover items and materials in the Chen house that suggested the family had been concealing significant aspects of their personal lives and activities from their neighbors and the broader community. Robert found hidden compartments in the basement that contained large quantities of cash, false identification documents, and materials that suggested the Chen family was involved in illegal activities. Robert's investigation of the hidden materials revealed that the Chen family was involved in a sophisticated money laundering operation that used their suburban home as a storage and processing center for illegal financial activities. The basement contained equipment and materials for producing counterfeit documents, processing illegal financial transactions, and storing large amounts of cash. Ring that notification bell if you've ever house-sat for neighbors and discovered that their quiet suburban life was completely fake, because what Robert learned about the Chen family's criminal operations proved that some house-sitting assignments expose you to dangerous criminal activities that the homeowners have been hiding behind facades of respectability. The discovery of the criminal activities put Robert in a dangerous position, as he realized that his presence in the house and his knowledge of the illegal operations made him a potential target for the criminal organizations that were working with the Chen family. Robert's status as a house-sitter and neighbor who had discovered the criminal activities created a situation where he could be viewed as a threat to the operation's security. The situation became more dangerous when Robert discovered that the Chen family's trip to China was actually a permanent relocation that was designed to allow them to escape from law enforcement investigations and criminal associates who were threatening their safety and the security of their illegal operations. Robert realized that he had been left alone in a house that was the center of criminal activities. Robert's attempts to contact the Chen family about his discoveries were unsuccessful, as the family had provided false contact information and had apparently severed all connections to their former life and criminal operations. Robert was forced to handle the dangerous situation alone, without guidance from the homeowners and without clear knowledge of what criminal threats might be targeting the property. The situation escalated when Robert was approached by people who claimed to be associates of the Chen family and who demanded access to the house and its hidden contents, suggesting that Robert's discovery of the criminal operations had been detected by people who were involved in or threatened by the illegal activities. The criminal associates were hostile and threatening. Robert realized that his house-sitting assignment had placed him in the middle of a criminal conflict that involved money laundering, document fraud, and potentially violent criminal organizations that viewed his presence in the house as an obstacle to their recovery of valuable assets and materials. Robert's status as an innocent house-sitter provided no protection from criminals who were willing to use violence. Robert's escape from the dangerous situation required him to immediately contact law enforcement and report the criminal activities and threats that he had discovered during his house-sitting assignment. Robert's cooperation with the investigation led to the discovery of a major money laundering operation and the arrest of several criminal associates. The investigation revealed that the Chen family had been operating their criminal enterprise for several years while maintaining the appearance of being respectable suburban residents, and that their sudden departure and abandonment of their house-sitting arrangement was part of a planned escape from law enforcement investigations. Robert's experience taught him that house-sitting could expose caretakers to criminal activities and dangerous situations that homeowners had concealed from their neighbors and communities, and that house-sitters needed to be prepared for the possibility that the homes they were caring for might be connected to illegal activities. These three accounts from house-sitters across America reveal a disturbing truth about temporary home care. The decision to live alone in someone else's house can expose you to dangers that go far beyond pet care and plant watering situations where the houses themselves harbor secrets that turn peaceful assignments into nightmares. Marcus's encounter with academic theft and harassment proved that some house-sitting assignments expose you to conflicts and vendettas that homeowners may not even be aware of, where your safety becomes collateral damage in disputes that have nothing to do with your caretaking responsibilities. Jennifer's experience with sophisticated criminal surveillance demonstrated that luxury house-sitting can place you in the crosshairs of professional criminal organizations who view wealthy properties and their temporary caretakers as opportunities for high-value crimes requiring months of planning. Robert's discovery of money laundering operations revealed that some house-sitting assignments involve families who have been living completely fabricated lives, where your simple favor places you in the middle of criminal activities that could make you a target for violence from people who view your knowledge as a threat to their freedom and safety. The most chilling aspect of these accounts isn't just the individual dangers themselves. It's the realization that these risks are inherent in the house-sitting arrangement, where you're placing your trust in homeowners to be honest about the safety and security of their properties and the potential threats that might be associated with their homes and lives. Marcus had no warning that his respected professor was involved in bitter academic disputes that would expose him to harassment and theft from dangerous colleagues who viewed his presence as an obstacle to their criminal activities. Jennifer had no indication that her luxury house-sitting assignment would place her in the crosshairs of sophisticated criminal organizations who had been planning elaborate surveillance and home invasion operations. Robert had no clue that his friendly neighbors had been operating a major criminal enterprise from their suburban home, and that his house-sitting favor would expose him to violent criminal associates who viewed his discovery of their operations as a threat that needed to be eliminated. If you're currently considering house-sitting opportunities or have accepted assignments in unfamiliar homes, if you've discovered evidence of unusual activities or felt uncomfortable about unexplained sounds and movements, or if you've been approached by homeowners who seem unusually desperate to find caretakers for extended trips, trust your instincts and remember that the compensation and comfortable accommodations might not be worth the risks. Share this video with anyone who does house sitting or is considering temporary home care work, because understanding these risks and warning signs could be the difference between a peaceful house-sitting experience and a traumatic encounter with criminal activities and dangerous situations that you never should have been exposed to. The next time you're offered a house-sitting assignment, remember these stories and carefully evaluate not just the responsibilities and compensation, but the potential risks and hidden dangers that might be lurking in the homes and lives of the families who are asking you to trust your safety to their honesty and disclosure. Before you go, check out the playlist in the description for more true house-sitting horror stories that could save your life. Because in the end, the most important thing you can protect while house-sitting is yourself. And no amount of money or comfortable accommodations is worth risking your safety in homes where the owners may be concealing criminal activities, dangerous conflicts, or threats that could turn your temporary home into a battlefield. Comment below if these stories have made you reconsider house-sitting opportunities, and remember that sometimes the most dangerous part of house-sitting isn't the responsibility of caring for someone else's property. It's the discovery that the property and its owners harbor secrets that can turn your temporary home into a nightmare, where your survival depends on recognizing threats and escaping situations that you never should have been exposed to in the first place. Stay safe out there, and remember that the best house-sitting assignment is one where you return home safely with your peace of mind intact, even if it means turning down opportunities that seem too good to be true or trusting your instincts when something doesn't feel right about the families who are asking you to live in their most private spaces.